Hey, it's me. I didn't mean to go into the archive. Perks are some of the most interesting feature in all of Dead by Daylight. It's such a simple mechanic, but it can change the entire way the game's played. And today we're going to be looking at each survivor and deciding which of their teachable perks, that being the perks that come with that survivor, is their best. Starting off, we've got Dwight. He's got some pretty good perks, but throughout all of my time playing Dead by Daylight, Prove Thyself has always been a top choice. If you're unfamiliar, it essentially combats the nerf to generator speeds. When multiple people work on a generator, without this perk, it's not 200% speed, it's like slightly less. Running this perk essentially counters that and makes it so that each person is working on a generator near you has an increased repair speed. And yeah, that's a really good perk. Next, we've got Meg, and this is a tough one. All three of her perks are extremely good. Quick and Quiet, Sprint Burst, Adrenaline. But out of all of these, the one I'm most likely to use, I'd say Adrenaline. This is probably the best selfish healing perk in the game. Which, speaking of that, next survivor is Claudette, who comes with self-care, which, and we're talking about our best perks, I won't dwell on it too long, not that good of a perk. But we do have, out of the other two options, one of my favourite perks to run in the game, Empathy, which shows you the aura of injured survivors. It's one of the longest aura read. It's one of the most useful aura reading perks. It just requires people to be injured, and you can see them from essentially anywhere in the trial. And it's good if you run altruistic builds. Next we've got Jake. Now, if I was doing this list, say, a week or two ago, I wouldn't know what to choose and probably go with Iron Will, because that was good at one point. But I've actually been having some fun running Saboteur. Saboteur being a perk that allows you to sabotage hooks without using a toolbox, but has a cooldown and a set speed. But also shows you hook auras, which is quite cool. It's very useful for hook saves, which this perk is the only reason you'd run it. Next we've got my main, Nia, and this is a really tough choice. This is like Meg again, all of these perks do have a lot of use. Balanced Landing's a unique exhaustion perk, but it's map dependent, so that's a bit weird. Urban Evasion's a really good stealth perk, but it can be used in a handful of situations, and you're not likely to run it, honestly. But Streetwise is a very good perk. It just enhances the amount of time your allies nearby to you and you can use items for, which is quite useful. Next, we've got Bill. And Bill, what can I say about him? Bill. He's got some decent perks. If you're beginning at the game, Left Behind and Unbreakable are insanely good perks. Unbreakable still is a really good perk, but I'd say his best one is Borrowed Time. It's an altruistic anti-tunnel. But if you're not into altruism, yeah, Unbreakable is a really good perk. It can really turn around certain games. But Borrowed Time activates on every unhook. Next we've got David King, and surprisingly, even though it got quote-unquote nerfed, Dead Hard is his best perk and is still good, honestly. In fact, it was kind of buffed, if anything. The fact that it got a nerf to make it less amount of uses means less people will run it, and killers won't suspect you in running Dead Hard. I get surprised whenever someone successfully does a Dead Hard nowadays. And yeah, good exhaustion perk. Now we've got Laurie Strode, our first licensed survivor. Bill was our second, but the order and this is weird. I'd say her best perk's Decisive Strike. like no doubt about it. Object of Obsession and Soul Survivor are fine, I guess. They're not the best, but Decisive Strike can save you if you're being tunneled. And if anything, it puts the mere existence of this perk, even if no one's running it, can put in the mind of some killers probably shouldn't tunnel them. Now we've got Ace, and his perks are alright, honestly. There isn't really any perk I'd say I'd run in any of my builds. But out of all of these, I'd say the best would have to be Ace in the Hole by itself. Up the Ante and Open Handed are good, but that's if you run perks that work with them. By itself, Ace in the Hole guarantees opening chests will get you really good items, which, although extremely unlikely, can turn a game around. And hey, you can just get free items. And yeah, her perks are alright, but I'd still say, as usual with survivors, if they have an exhaustion perk, it's good. Life is one of the most used exhaustion perks to my knowledge, and it makes it so that when you vault a window, you get a sprint burst. I think the worst part about this perk is that the quote they used is "you mad," which I die. Now we've got Quentin. Quentin's perks are alright, but by far the best perk is Vigil. Vigil is really good and will be even better in the upcoming update because it will also apply to Mangled. So it'd be good to run this. It's also altruistic, also helps you get exhaustion perks, the best perks in the game in my opinion, back faster. Now we've got Detective Tap, and I'm between Stakeout and Detective Hunt and can't decide. Detective Hunt's complete a generator, you see auras of a lot of stuff near to you, which that's very useful. Stakeout, on the other hand, is very good if you're working on generators a lot. Well, Detective Hunt rewards you for completing generators, that's good. Stakeout makes it that whenever you're near the killer, you earn this perk. So I guess it's better, I run it more. But it still have its place. See, I can't choose, you decide. It's not Tenacity. It's not, Tenacity can turn a game around, but these two are way better. Now we've got Kate, who you'd never guess what her burst perk is. Boil Over is overpowered, but it's still her best perk. Make it so that when you get picked up by the killer, you wiggle faster, they can't see nearby hook auras, and if they fall from a height, you get additional wiggling progress, which I'm fine with any of these effects existing, but them all in one perk is a lot. It's like insane. And now we've got Adam. This skin is horrible. Why am I making him wear it? This one I'm conflicted with. I'm a Didact stan. Is such a good perk. Diversion, throwing a pebble and distracting the killer is funny, but I'm not gonna lie, his best perk is gotta be Deliverance. Successfully getting this to activate can turn the game around if you've been playing well. Now we've got Jeff, and oh boy. All of his perks are really good. Aftercare is decent. It's probably his worst. Breakdown is very good. Very, very good. But in all actuality, the killer can just slug you. Distortion has not that many counters, is an issue to some killers, so yeah, run it. It rewards you for getting close to the killer by making you untrackable, but it does deserve a nerf. Next up we've got Jane, and Head On. Head On is the most aggressive exhaustion perk that exists. You get a locker, a little 3-second time, and you can stun the killer without being near a pallet, without having Decisive Strike. You just have to not be exhausted and have to have been in the locker within like a window of time. It's insanely good, and I used to get angry at this perk, but when I tried using it against the killer, I've just learned to respect it. Now we've got my boy Ash, and it's Buckle Up. Buckle Up is a very good perk. By itself, you're healing survivor at the dying state, you can see the killer, and you pick them up and you both gain endurance. That is really good for one perk slot. I'd say a really good thing would be maybe if you're healthy, you don't gain the endurance. Like maybe if you're also injured, you gain the endurance, but if not injured, you don't. Just to make it a little bit less of a issue. Now we've got Nancy and its inner strength. Really good selfish healing perk which can activate multiple times a game, unlike, and it's not an exhaustion perk either. You just need to find lockers and totems, which it is difficult, but if you do, you can heal yourself while not like spending half an hour at the other side of the map, self-caring, and annoying your teammate who brought Autodidact. Now I've got Steve, and this is a tough one. I like all of these perks, except you. But I'm going to say that Second Wind is his best. Being able to heal yourself immediately off a hook, technically, is quite a good perk, honestly. Next up, we've got Yui, and I'd say her best perk is Any Means Necessary. You can reset pallets, what's not to love about that? If you get to use it right, it's very good for resource management. Next up, we've got Zarina, and it's for people. Like these perks are decent, kind of really good. This is very good. It had a lot of risk, a lot of reward. If you use it with Buckle Up, as previously mentioned, you can save people very easily from the dying state. You can swoop in and do that. It's a very good healing perk if you're willing to be under pressure and help your teammates out. Next up, we've got Cheryl, and I'd say Soul Guard, honestly. As long as there is a hex in the trial, you can infinite unbreakable yourself. And anytime you're recovered from the dying state, you gain endurance. Which, that's a very good effect. I think most people see it as unbreakable if there's a hex, and not, if you run this with unbreakable, you get a better unbreakable. Next we've got Felix, and Felix, it's gotta be Built to Last. Built to Last is very good. If you run a very good item, it's a very good perk. If not, it's not that decent. It's not that good. But yeah, you can repair items that you've used. So running this with Streetwise, you can use your items for way longer. Next up, we've got Elodie, and these are all fine, but Power Struggle is probably the best. You're carried by the killer and you can stun them with pallets. It's like a not slightly, it's a worse version of Decisive Strike, because it requires the killer to go through pallets, which is already a dangerous thing. But yeah, good perk still. Now we've got Yun Junli, and her perks are thematic. They're not meant to be meta, they're not meant to be good. But out of all of these, Smash Hit is an exhaustion perk. It's the best exhaustion perk for frequency. It only gives you 20 seconds of exhaustion. All other ones give you double that. And yeah, you stun the killer, you essentially, with a pallet, you stun them so they can't move, while we have to break the pallet so they're slowed down, and you can sprint burst away. So it's a very good perk. It's just, if you're not good at pallets, you're not good at this perk. Now we've got Jill, and Honestly, any of these perks, they are all equally strong. But I'd say the one that can get the most use and the most value is Blast Mine. Blast Mine, you can put it into a generator. Killer kicks the generator, they get blinded and they have to kick it again. This can be a counter if the killer's running a timed gen kick perk like, I don't know, Pop goes and they can run out of time. It can also just be good if you're running perks that activate on blinds. We'll talk about 2 later. But yeah, very good perk. Now we've got Leon, and Leon's perks, yeah, no, it's Flashbang. Flashbang is the better equivalent to running a flashlight. It's a perk, you earn it, so killer can't complain. And it's easier to land, honestly, once you learn how it works. A flashlight, you have to aim at the killer's face. The killer with a flashbang has to be looking in its direction. It creates like a wall of light rather than a cone going up. So you can get some unexpected blinds. And now we've got Mikaela. And post its nerf, Boon Circle of Healing isn't the best boon perk, it's Shadow Step. Shadow Step is the only reason why running Shattered Hope is a bad idea. Because boon perks are not only rare, but this perk is extremely common and counters it. It's a stealth boon, so obviously it's going to hide scratch marks and auras. And it lingers. That's just insanely good. Next we've got Jonah with another ugly skin combo. Overcome is an unusual exhaustion perk. It's one that you don't actually choose when you activate it, but it can help. Exponential is probably a second, slightly off perk, but that requires the killer to down you in a boon totem range and not snuff the boon totem by the time you've recovered. Running this with like Unbreakable, I guess is cool, but why would you do that? No. Run Overcome. Yoichi has some decent perks. Best boon perk in the game, I will not explain why. But Empathic Connection is empathy, but slightly tweaked. It's got a weaker aura reading ability because you can't see the survivor, they can see you at reduced range. But it does grant you a base kit faster heal, which can be very useful. And now we've got Hattie, who, their perks are alright, but Residual Manifest is very good. It grants you the ability of getting a flashlight from a chest for free, essentially. Allows you, whenever you blind the killer, which does include flashbangs and blast mines, to apply blindness, which hides any of their aura reading perks. But yeah, that is quite a good perk. Now we've got Ada Wong. Ada's perks are extremely selfish, but I'd say her best one's Wiretap, obviously. Running this with Blast Mine is good, because either the killer kicks the generator and you blind them, or they don't kick the generator and you can see them near the generator. So it's a win-win situation. Now we've got Rebecca. Rebecca's perks are really, they're alright. Hyper Focus is only good at gen rushing. Reassurance doesn't have that many. It can be useful, but not as useful as just unhooking and taking the hit. Better Than You, I'd say that's quite good. It grants people who heal a speed boost to certain action speeds, which does include healing. Now we've got Vittorio. Vittorio's perks are iffy. This is receiving a buff, or received a buff. Honestly, I forgot, it's not that good of a perk anyway. Fog-wise, I'd say is a really good aura reading perk, but Potential Energy can break 3 gens really easily, which, yeah. You do some generator off in the corner of the map using this perk, and you can go to a very easy to get to generator and complete it way faster. This can lead you to like putting a lot of pressure on the killer when you wouldn't have been able to. So I'd say it's more useful. A lot of people would argue, which to those people, yeah, I use Fogwise more often. It's just, there is a killer perk which was free for a very long time, so a lot of people have it. You know, the Demogorgon perk, Fearmonger, I think, yeah. Killer runs that and you will get 0 value from this perk. Now I've got Talita, and Talita's perks are not that great, honestly. I like her as a survivor. Her perks are just not that great. But I'd say our best one is Cut Loose, which is a better Quick and Quiet. We didn't talk about it earlier, we kind of just highlighted it. But Quick and Quiet, you perform a rushed action and the killer doesn't know. That's good for stealth. Cut Loose is really good for tricking the killer. You do a fast vault immediately after that, and the killer doesn't know, and you have a small window of time, and that resets every time you do this, and if you keep it going, you can fool the killer into thinking you're committing to this part of the chase when you've ran away stealthily. Now we've got her brother, Renato, and his perks are great. They're not bad. They're not really good either. But I'd say Background Player is probably his best. It's an exhaustion perk which does allow you to get hook or flashlight saves a lot easier, and that is an insane sprint burst. 200% for 5 seconds. For reference, most of the other ones, I don't think any other one is 200%, and I think all of the other sprint bursts are for 4 seconds. So this is the best sprint bursting perk. Now I've got Gabriel. Gabriel, his perks are alright. Post-nerf made for this is not that great. If you don't like going against Legion, you should run it though. But I'd say his best perk is Troubleshooter. Troubleshooter shows you it highlights to you the most progressed generator. When you drop a pallet, you can see the killer's aura. That's a good perk. And now we've got Nicolas Cage, the best licensed survivor, and I'm going to pick Dramaturgy. Most other people would pick Plot Twist, but that can be used twice per game. This is an exhaustion perk, and it's random. So I can say it's great if you have really good luck. Which I don't. This is the only perk to give you an item, as well as give you haste. It is the most underwhelming sprint burst, but that of course makes sense. It's a roulette perk, it's random, it's really good. Now we've got Ripley, and out of all of Ripley's perks, I'd say the most useful one is Light-Footed. Lucky Star is only good if you have a locker build, and Chemical Trap, you can see it so clearly. Only if you time it extremely well can you do it well. But Light-Footed, it is very good at stealth. If you run this with Dramaturgy, the killer won't hear your faster footsteps and won't suspect you to get, like, I don't know, just a bit further ahead. It's a cool perk. Also has a cat, so that's cool. I'm saying cool a lot. Makes sense, we got Alan Wake now. And Champion of Light is his best perk. I have trouble using it, but it's still his best one, because this allows you to use flashlights better. Also, if you blind the killer, they get hindered. Which, yeah, no. Really great perk. And that's all we have for currently released survivors. However, when this video comes out, it will be 3 or 4 days for the new chapter coming out. They've confirmed all the changes they're making. They've solidified it essentially. And the upcoming survivor, Sable, will have a perk called Wicked, which is, from what it seems like, can be a really good anti-tunnel perk. Also anti-camp technically, and also anti-certain playstyles which are not that fun, like Basement Trapper. You get hooked in the basement, you can unhook yourself very easily. And also, whenever you get unhooked, you see the killer's aura for not 10, not 15, 20 seconds. Which, that is a really good aura read. It can be done twice per game, but that's really good compared to her other two perks. But I'll discuss her when she comes out. For now, I hope you enjoyed my little rant video, but this time on Survivor perks. Like if you want to see me do this but for killer perks, which that won't be for a while considering when this next chapter comes out, I'm probably going to make a lot of content around everything on it. Don't quote me on that in case that it comes out and I immediately get bored of it, but yeah. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye bye.